Top Accolade Global News Update. I am Toybifa Jackridge. The United States and Britain launched strikes from the air and sea against Houthi military targets in Yemen in response to the movement's attacks on ships in the Red Sea, a dramatic regional widening of the Israel-Hamas war in Gaza. President Joe Biden cautioned in a statement late on Thursday he would not hesitate to take further action if needed. Britain's Ministry of Defense said in a statement that early indications are that the Houthis' ability to threaten merchant shipping has taken a blow. Iran, which supports the Houthis, strongly condemned the attacks. A spokesperson for the Houthis said there was no justification for the attacks and that the group will continue targeting ships heading towards Israel. Russia said it had requested an urgent meeting of the UN Security Council to discuss the military strikes. The Houthis say the attack on shipping routes in the Red Sea are a show of support for the Palestinians, the Islamic group that controls Gaza. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, who is in hospital due to surgery complications, said in a statement that the strike targeted Houthi capabilities including drones, ballistic and cruise missiles, coastal radar and air surveillance. Officials confirmed raids in the capital Sana'a along with the cities of Sada and Dahama as well as in Hodeidah governorates, calling them American Zionist British aggression. From Russia is poised to be the first known tourists allowed into North Korea since anti-pandemic border lockdowns began in early 2020. According to a post from Russian provincial authorities and a Western talk guide, North Korea imposed some of the strictest border controls in the world during the spread of COVID-19 and has yet to fully reopen to foreigners. The trip, advertised by a Vladivostok-based agency, was arranged when the governor of Russia's far eastern region of Krai, which borders North Korea, visited Pyongyang for talks in December. The regional government said in a post on Telegram this week the 4-day tour will depart on February 9th and include stops in Pyongyang and a ski resort, according to an online itinerary. Simon Cockerell, general manager of Beijing-based Koryo Tours, which is not involved in the trip, said that his partners in North Korea had confirmed the Russian visit is going ahead under special circumstances. North Korea leader Kim Jong-un and Russian President Vladimir Putin met for a summit in eastern Russia in September, where they pledged deepening cooperation on economic, political, and military fronts despite international sanctions. Tourism is largely unaffected by UN Security Council resolutions that restrict business with North Korea over its nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles program. The year before the pandemic began, North Korea saw a surge of Chinese tourists who may have provided a cash-strapped country with up to $175 million in extra revenue in 2019, according to an estimate by Seoul-based NK News. Low vaccination rates against the latest versions of COVID-19 and influenza are putting pressure on healthcare system this winter. Leading public health officials said in the United States, several European countries, and other parts of the world, there have been reports of rising hospitalizations linked to respiratory infection in recent weeks. Death rates have also ticked up among older adults in some regions, but far below the COVID-19 peak. Spain's government has reinstated mask wearing requirements at healthcare facilities, as have some U.S. hospital networks. Governments have struggled to communicate the risks still posed by COVID and the benefits of vaccination since a global public health emergency was declared over in May 2023. Infectious disease experts and health officials said only 19.4% of U.S. adults have received the season's COVID vaccine based on the U.S. Centers for Disease Control (CDC) and Prevention's National Immunization Survey, despite a recommendation that all adults get an updated shot to protect against serious illness. In Europe, the new COVID shots are recommended for high-risk group only, such as senior and the immunocompromised. Among these groups, the WHO says there should be 100% coverage. COVID rates are also rising in the southern hemisphere during their summer, the WHO said, because it is not yet a seasonal virus. Last month, 850,000 new COVID cases and 118,000 new new hospitalizations were reported globally, a rise from November of 52% and 23% respectively, according to WHO, which added that the actual figures were likely higher. The vaccines are still very effective at preventing serious illness, even if they do not block infection, experts said. The data for flu is not yet available, but a study by Federfarma, the Association of Italian Pharmacists, said 15% of Italians had been vaccinated against flu this autumn, compared to just over 20% last season. Taiwan's three main political parties will hold mass rallies on Friday evening in a final push for support ahead of critical presidential and parliamentary elections happening against the backdrop of increased Chinese pressure on the island. Taiwan has been a democratic success story since holding its first direct presidential election in 1996, the culmination of decades of struggle against authoritarian rule and martial law. The ruling Democratic Progress Party, DPP, which champions Taiwan's separate identity and rejects China's territory claims, is seeking a third term in office, with its candidate, current Vice President Lai Ching-te, in the run up to Saturday's election. China repeatedly denounced Lai as a dangerous separatist and rebuffed repeated calls from him for talks. Lai said he is committed to preserving peace across the Taiwan Straits, but has accused China of seeking to interfere in the vote by spreading disinformation and putting further military and economic pressure on the island, which Beijing views as sacred Chinese territory. Lai is facing two opponents for the presidency: Hu Yuhe of Taiwan's largest opposition party, the Kuomintang KMT, and former Taipei Mayor Ko Wen-je of the small Taiwan People's Party (TPP), only founded in 2019. Hu wants to restart engagement with China, beginning with people-to-people's exchanges, and has, like China, accused Lai of supporting Taiwan's former independence. Lai says Hu is pro-Beijing, which Hu rejects. The KMT and TPP say Taiwan needs a change of government after 8 years of DPP rule, though an effort by the two parties late last year to form a joint ticket take on the DPP collapsed in acrimony. The DPP and KMT will both hold their final rallies Friday evening in Taipei's neighboring New Taipei, while the TPP has the prime spot in central Taipei near the presidential office. Tens of thousands are expected to attend each event. Israel will respond on Friday to accusations brought by South Africa at the UN Sub-Court that its military operation in Gaza is a state-led genocide campaign aimed at wiping out the Palestinian population. South Africa, which filed the lawsuit at the International Court of Justice (ICJ) in December, asked the judges on Thursday to impose emergency measures ordering Israel to immediately halt the offensive. It said Israel's grand offensive, which has laid waste to much of the narrow coast enclave and killed more than 23,000 people, according to Gaza health authorities, aimed to bring about the destruction of the population of Gaza. Israel rejected the accusation of genocide as baseless. It said South Africa was acting as a mouthpiece for Islamist Hamas, which seeks Israel's destruction and is widely designated as a terrorist group in the West. Israel launched its all-out war in Gaza after a cross-border rampage on October 7 by Hamas militants, in which Israeli officials said 1,200 people were killed, mainly civilians, and 240 taken hostage back to Gaza. Palestinian backers with flag marched through the Hague and planned to watch proceedings on a giant screen in front of the Peace Palace. Israeli supporters were holding a gathering of family members of hostages taken by Hamas. Since Israeli forces launched their offensive, nearly all of Gaza's 2.3 million people have been driven from their homes at least once, causing a humanitarian catastrophe. When the African National Congress struggle against white minority rule was cheered on by Yasser Arafat's Palestinian Liberation Organization, the court is expected to rule on possible emergency measures later this month, but will not rule at that time of the genocide allegations. Those proceedings could take a year. That is the size of top accolade global news update. You can follow us on our social media platforms as displayed on your screen. Happy Friday.